The screenshot is timestamped from a phone model that wasn't released yet. Same date, different month, future firmware. LurmoStories runs on files like this. 3 different forensic tools confirmed the metadata isn't faked. The post itself is unremarkable. The user's account had been deleted 4 years before they uploaded it. I took the night job because it was quiet and paid every Friday. That was enough in November 2018. I was 34, recently divorced, sleeping on an air mattress off Griffin Road in Lakeland, Florida. The mall was Palmetto Court, but everybody called it the Dead Mall behind Chili's on US 98. My boss, Rick, ran Gulf Coast Property Watch out of Brandon. Retired Tampa cop, gray mustache, coffee breath. He met me at a Dunkin' and said, 10 to 6, 5 nights. See a person, call Lakeland PD. See a raccoon, leave it alone. A tax office used the old Radio Shack by day, and a church rented Claire's on Sundays. At night, it was just me, brown tiles, dry fountains, metal gates, and the air conditioner coughing awake every hour. My booth was a glass kiosk outside JCPenney. I carried a flashlight, a Motorola radio, and an iPhone 6 with a cracked corner. The mannequins were in the old Belk, which locals said had been Burdines before that. Inside were sun-faded dresses, broken perfume counters, Christmas bins, and maybe 40 mannequins. Some had smooth faces with only a bump where the nose should be. First time my flashlight hit them, I said, nope, laughed, and tapped one on the forehead. Hollow plastic. On my second Thursday, one was outside the Belk gate. The gate was chained half down. The mannequin stood about 8 feet into the corridor, wearing a blue cardigan and a white skirt twisted crooked. No head, one hand down. I figured a contractor had moved it. Dennis came twice a month to check sprinklers and always left Marlboro smell in the service hall. I pushed it back under the gate with my boot, wrote, "Fixture moved clear," and kept walking. Next night, it was out again, farther this time, by the dry fountain outside Victoria's Secret. I texted Rick a picture at 12:18 a.m. He replied, "Dennis screwing around. Keep gate clear." So that was my answer. Dennis, bored. Or teenagers. Or air pressure. The floor sloped toward the fountain because the roof leaked there. Maybe the metal base slid on the tile. It sounded dumb, but less dumb than a mannequin moving on its own. After that, it happened every night. Monday, it was by the directory map. Tuesday, it was near Bath & Body Works. Wednesday, there were 2, both facing the kiosk. Thursday, one had a brown wig, stiff with dust, and when I dragged it back, the wig brushed my cheek like fishing line. On November 14th, I came in and found 4 mannequins in a line across the main corridor. 2 female bodies, 1 male torso on wheels, and a small display body from a kids department. They were spaced about 3 feet apart, all aimed at my kiosk. The mall smelled wet that night. Old carpet, ceiling tile, and sour pretzel from an Auntie Anne's that had closed years before. My shoes squeaked. Near the theater, a sign buzzed, stopped, then buzzed again. I called the non-emergency number and said someone was inside moving fixtures. Officers Patel and McBride came around 3 a.m., checked the Belk, arcade, and loading dock, and found nobody. McBride said, "That's creepy as hell." Patel said, "Don't help." The next day, Rick came with Dennis, who wore a Dolphins cap and kept saying, "I got no time for Scooby-Doo crap." He swore he had not touched them. That weekend, I bought 10 feet of zinc-plated chain and a blue master lock at Home Depot. Problem, tool, solution. Monday night, November 19th, I picked the headless one with the blue cardigan because it was always closest. I dragged it into the Belk, wrapped the chain around its waist in a steel column by the perfume counter, and locked it tight. I filmed it on my phone. 11:47 p.m., I said, "Let's see it move." For 2 hours, nothing happened. I ate a Publix turkey sandwich and watched downloaded forensic files with one earbud in. At 2:31 a.m., I heard metal drag. One scrape, then another. I turned off my phone screen and stepped out. The corridor was yellow and empty. The Belk was black behind the half-lowered gate. My flashlight caught the chain running tight from the column into the dark. It jerked. I stood there, not breathing right. It jerked again, harder. Metal snapped against metal. "Dennis?" I called, because apparently I wanted to sound like an idiot. The chain went slack. I backed into the kiosk, locked the glass door, and called Rick. No answer. I called 911 and said someone was inside the old Belk behind the Chili's on US 98. While the dispatcher asked if I could see the person, something slid under the Belk gate. Slid, not crawled. It came out low and sideways, then stood up in pieces. Torso, arms, blank neck. The blue cardigan hung from it. Broken chain dangled at its waist and clicked on the tile. I told the dispatcher, send somebody now. Then my kiosk lights went out. Not the mall, just the booth. The fluorescent strip clicked off. The dead monitor made a soft pop, and the heater stopped. My phone screen lit my hand. In the glass, I saw my own face, and past it, the mannequin. It moved one step. The base scraped forward. The body leaned. One plastic arm swung late. Another step. The chain dragged behind it. The dispatcher said, "Is the person armed?" "I don't know," I said. It stopped 6 feet from the door. Then it raised one molded hand and placed the palm flat against the glass. It did not bang. It was careful. Dust smeared under its joined fingers. My phone died in my hand. It had been at 38%. I checked when I started the call. The screen went black. The booth went quiet, except for the buzz near the theater. I stood behind the desk until the kiosk lights came back on. The mannequin was gone. I did not go looking. I stayed inside with the chair jammed under the door handle, useless because the door opened outward. Red and blue lights hit the windows at 2:49. The officers found the cardigan mannequin back by the perfume counter. The chain was still around the column, snapped in the middle, not at the lock. The metal was stretched thin on one side, clean on the other. My phone turned on in Patel's charger. Battery 36%. The call log showed 911, 4 minutes and 19 seconds. Rick told me to take Tuesday off. I almost quit right there. But rent was due, and Laura had just taken me off her phone plan, so I went back Wednesday. Thanksgiving was the next day. The mall felt warm and damp. The fountain smelled like pennies and bleach, though it had no water. A smoke detector chirped every 40 seconds. I went to the Belk first. The cardigan mannequin was gone. The others were there. The male torso, the brown wig, the small display body. Not the one I chained. The broken chain hung from the column, but the piece that had been around its waist was missing. I called Rick. He said, "Maybe Dennis moved it." I said, "Ask him." He said, "It's Thanksgiving tomorrow, Daniel. I'm not calling Dennis about a mannequin." For 3 hours, nothing happened. I did short rounds and skipped the back service hall because I did not want to be there. In the log I wrote, "Service corridor clear." A lie. At 1:58 a.m., I found the mannequin in the food court. It stood behind the counter of the old Chick-fil-A. The metal gate was down, but the serving window was open. The blue cardigan was buttoned now. I had not buttoned it. One sleeve hung empty. I did not remember that before. My phone buzzed. A text appeared on the lock screen from my own number. I stared at it. My phone was in my hand. I had no second phone. The mall Wi-Fi was dead. Green bubble. My number. 1:59 a.m. I walked backward until the fountain blocked my view of the Chick-fil-A. The kiosk door was open. I never left it open. The rolling chair faced the corridor. My notebook sat open on the desk. Under my last entry, someone had written, 0159, returned phone. The handwriting looked like mine, but slow. It pressed so hard the paper tore. My charger cable hung off the desk. My spare flashlight was on the floor. The heater was on high, and the booth smelled like burnt lint. Then I noticed my phone was no longer in my hand. I looked at my empty palm like a fool. I checked my pockets. Nothing. Desk. Floor. Nothing. Then I saw it. The mannequin was inside the kiosk, in the narrow gap between the filing cabinet and the dead monitor. Blue cardigan, white skirt, no head, one arm. In its remaining hand, it held my iPhone. The screen was lit, camera app open, front-facing. My own face was on it, gray and stupid, in the doorway. I said, very quietly, "Give it back." The hand twitched. The phone took a picture. That little Apple shutter sound was worse than yelling. I had heard it at birthdays and bars. In that empty mall, from a phone held by plastic fingers, it felt too normal. The mannequin stepped forward. Its shoulder hit the filing cabinet with a hollow knock. I ran. I hit the west doors, got outside, and crossed the lot to my Ford Focus. My keys fell under the car, and I had to kneel in wet grit to get them. I drove to the 7-Eleven on Memorial Boulevard and called 911 from the clerk's phone. Shonda, the clerk, gave me coffee. At 4:12, Rick walked in with my phone in a Ziploc bag. "Where was it?" I asked. "On the kiosk desk." "The mannequin?" "Belk." "Was it holding the phone?" He looked at Shonda, then back at me. "No." The phone was on. Battery 34%. There was one new photo, me blurred in the kiosk doorway. Behind me, near the dry fountain, stood 5 mannequins facing the booth. I showed Rick. He stared, then said, "Email me that." I said, "I quit." He did not argue. That bothered me later. Rick argued about weather apps, but he only nodded. I never went back. Rick mailed my last check and my windbreaker. I threw my notebook away without opening it. The jacket stayed in my closet 6 months, then went to Goodwill. By late 2019, I was in Street, Petersburg, working days at a warehouse near the port. Better pay, fewer empty hallways. I told people smaller versions. Laura got teenagers broke in. Mark got squatter and bad breaker. I kept the photo in an iCloud folder called Work Stuff. The last part happened on November 30th, 2019, the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Downtown St. Pete had Christmas lights on the palms, and everyone wore hoodies, though it was 62 degrees. I was meeting Mark at Green Bench Brewing. He was late, so I walked Central Avenue. One store had vintage clothes in the window. 3 mannequins posed around a velvet chair like bored people at a party. The one on the left wore my old security uniform. Mine. Gray Gulf Coast Property Watch shirt, black pants, cheap badge, black windbreaker with a melted mark near the zipper. Name tag slightly crooked, Daniel R. Under the jacket, around its shoulders, was a blue cardigan. I stood on the sidewalk while people moved around me. A scooter buzzed by. The mannequin had a smooth, blank face and one missing arm. In its palm was a dark rectangle shape, about the size of an old iPhone. I went inside because I still make bad choices. The store smelled like cedar chips, old denim, and a sea salt candle. A woman looked up from a laptop. "Can I help you?" "Where did you get that uniform in the window?" She glanced over. "Storage cleanout, I think. My boss buys pallets around Tampa." "And the mannequin?" "Same batch, maybe. We have a bunch." I stepped closer to the glass. The face had a scuff where the nose should have been. The clerk said, "Sir?" I left. That night, I opened the Work Stuff folder. The photo was still there, me blurred in the kiosk doorway, 5 mannequins by the fountain. I zoomed in until the image turned blocky. The one in the cardigan was angled toward the glass wall of the kiosk, toward where the phone had been. I deleted the photo, changed my Apple ID password, and turned off iCloud Photos. It did not help. I have not been back to that block of Central Avenue. I work days. I do not shop after dark. I pass store windows once and keep moving. Checking twice is how you notice distance. And distance was always the first thing that changed. I took the night job because it paid $18.75 an hour, and I needed money. Sun Lake Mall sat west of Lakeland, Florida, off US 98, past the pawn shops. In August 2021, it was mostly dead, but the owners kept power on because of an insurance fight. Murray worked days. I worked nights. I was 34, divorced, and living above my cousin's garage in Plant City. Most nights, I brought Daisy, my tan pit mix with one floppy ear. She was not a guard dog. She was just company. The mall smelled like wet ceiling tile, old pretzels, and hot dust. The dry fountain held black pennies. One skylight leaked every afternoon. My shift was 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. I carried a flashlight, a hissing Motorola radio, and an iPhone 8 with a cracked screen. There were 17 checkpoints. Tap the phone, keep walking. The worst store was called Belk Loft, though it had never been a Belk or a loft. An outlet company left in 2019 and abandoned racks, mirrors, and 22 mannequins. White plastic, no faces, rounded hands. Adult men, adult women, and one small one on a denim table. Murray made me count them. He had a clipboard marked tenant property. If they go missing, he said, somebody will blame us. The first thing happened on August 9th. Around 11:40, I walked through Belk Loft and saw one male mannequin facing the wrong way. It had always faced the front windows. That night, it faced the dressing rooms. Daisy sniffed old hangers and sneezed. I told myself Murray had moved it. Or maybe I had never noticed. That was the rational answer, and I took it. I turned it back. The next night, two were different. A female mannequin had both arms down. The male by the window had its head tilted a couple inches. I texted Murray. At 6:12 a.m., he answered. Wasn't me. Prob cleaning crew. There was no cleaning crew. Still, I blamed bad floors, humidity, teenagers. A mall is a huge metal box with 1,000 noises. You learned the building and gave sounds names. The poses did not have names. By August 13th, I was taking pictures at the start of every shift. Around 9:25, I photographed all 22 mannequins. At 3 a.m., I compared. A torso turned. A hand moved. One night, the small one had its foot on the floor. That bothered me. Murray looked at the photos in the office. Maybe the floor's settling, he said. Murray, the arm moved up. Then somebody's coming in. That should have been the answer. We checked the Sears loading dock, theater entrance, roof ladder, and emergency exits. Nothing was open. The cameras were old Lorex units from maybe 2012. Belkloft had none inside. On August 16th, Murray brought 2 master locks and blue painter's tape. We locked the front gate and rear door, then taped both seams. At 1:08, the tape was clean. At 4:52, before clocking out, I looked through the gate. The mannequins had changed. The mannequins had changed again. Only 5, but enough. The male by the window had one arm raised higher. The small one was cross-legged again. The tape was not broken. When Murray came in, he stared at it for a long time. Then he said, "Don't go in there tonight." Of course, I went in there the next night. Not because I was tough. I was broke. Also, fear gets irritating when it sits there unsolved. I unlocked Belk Loft at 10:15 with Daisy on leash. The air smelled like damp carpet and sour plastic. I checked the stockroom, electrical closet, and 6 dressing rooms. In stall 3, I found 2 wire hangers and a cracked Target water bottle. Teenagers had broken in before. White Claw cans, Swisher wrappers, once a Burger King receipt from 2018. So I thought, somebody got in. I did not find a person. I found the access panel. It was behind the long mirror at the end of the dressing room hall. The plywood had finger marks in the dust. One screw was shiny. I pulled the edge. It shifted half an inch, then stuck. When I turned around, one mannequin stood in the dressing room entrance. It was the male one from the front window. White head, white chest. One arm bet. It had not been there when I walked in. Daisy made a low sound in her throat. I said, "Hello?" Nothing answered. Water ticked into a bucket somewhere above us. I saw curved scuff marks behind the mannequin, like it had been dragged. I grabbed its shoulder. Plastic, hollow, cold. I pushed it, and it wobbled on its base. Relief made me angry. I dragged it back and left. That week, I should have stopped changing clothes in Belk Loft. The office had a locker, but it smelled like microwaved burritos and ant traps. The dressing rooms had a bench. I kept a duffel there with a gray Hanes t-shirt, black Dickies pants, and my Marlins cap. On August 19th, my gray t-shirt went missing. At the start of my next shift, I saw it stretched over the male mannequin by men's clearance. My Marlins cap sat on its blank head, bill backward. Daisy backed away with her ears flat. I called Murray. Someone put my shirt on one of them. Are you messing with me? No. Lock yourself in the office. Call county. 2 Polk County deputies came at 1:20 a.m. Deputy Carver was tall and bored. Deputy Moreno was younger and polite. Carver asked if I had an ex messing with me. My ex lives in Ocala, I said, and would burn them all down before doing arts and crafts. Moreno looked at the mirror wall. He saw the shiny screw. He did not laugh. They pulled the panel off. Behind it was a 2-foot gap between the store wall and a service corridor. Studs, pipes, yellow insulation, dust thick as flour. It ran behind Belk Loft and probably connected to Dead Payless. There were footprints in the dust. Bare feet. Large. Human. The deputies went in. I stayed with Daisy and listened to boots scrape behind the wall. It smelled like urine, warm insulation, and pennies. They came out 20 minutes later with a Publix bag of trash. No person. Could be a squatter, Carver said. Could be gone. Murray covered Friday. Saturday, I came back. He had screwed the mirror panel shut with 8 new screws. The mannequins were arranged when I walked in. Not shifted, arranged. 12 stood in the main aisle, facing the dressing rooms in 2 rows. My t-shirt and cap were gone. My duffel was open in stall 3. Daisy refused to cross the gate. She planted her feet and leaned back. I locked the gate and called Murray. No answer. Then my radio cracked. Nate? A man's voice, low, close to whispering. I pressed the button. Who is this? Static. Daisy started barking at the old Payless across the concourse. Its gate was down, but bent at the bottom, enough for a thin person to crawl under. Behind it was black. Something metal clacked inside. I called 911 and went to the security office. It had 3 monitors, a microwave, a mini fridge, and a framed mall map from 2006. Daisy growled. At 2:12, something white crossed the edge of the Belk Loft camera. It moved like a person trying not to move like a person. Slow, stiff. Arms held wrong. It went toward Payless and disappeared. The radio on the desk clicked. Nate! I turned it off. The office phone rang. That phone never rang. Beige landline, yellow buttons. I let it ring 4 times. Daisy barked at it. I picked up. For 1 second, I heard mall air, a faint drip, a far metal click. Then a man whispered, "Nice dog." I hung up. Deputies arrived at 2:28, 4 this time, including Moreno and an older one named Haskins. You saw him? Moreno asked. On camera, wearing white, moving like one of the mannequins. Then Haskins' radio popped with a voice that was not dispatch. Nate's dog is loud. Nobody moved for a full second. Moreno said quietly, "That wasn't us." They cleared Belk Loft first. The gate was still locked. The mannequins were still in rows. One had my Marlins cap on again. Then they went into Payless. I stayed in the concourse. The air smelled like hot dust and ozone. From Payless came voices. Clear left. Watch that hole. Got bedding. Then a crash came from above us. The ceiling tiles over Claire's bulged and dust sifted down. Something ran overhead. Not crawled. Ran. Thump, thump, thump across metal supports. Then a sliding scrape. A tile dropped near the dry fountain. A bare leg came through the hole, then pulled back. That image stuck. Not a monster, just a dirty foot and shin jerking into the dark because somebody almost stepped wrong. Then every light in Belk Loft turned on. 1 row of fluorescent tubes after another. Bang, bang, bang. The dead store glowed white behind the gate. The mannequins stood in 2 rows facing us. And one of them moved. Second row, left side, male body, white long-sleeve shirt. My black Dickies pants pulled over its legs. It took 1 sideways step. For a second, nobody reacted. Mannequin, not mannequin. Person. The figure slipped toward the dressing rooms. I had the Belk Loft key. My hand would not work right. I dropped the keyring, picked it up, and opened the gate. Daisy pulled loose. She shot inside, barking. I went after her. Plastic bodies clattered onto the floor. I saw my black pants vanish into the dressing room hall. Daisy stopped at the mirror wall and barked. The panel was open. Behind it, in the 2-foot gap, a man tried to squeeze sideways between studs. His face and scalp were coated white with chalky powder. Sweat had cut lines through it. My clothes hung from him. My Marlins cap sat on his head. My Dickies pants were unbuttoned because they did not fit. He froze when my flashlight hit him. For that second, he did look like a mannequin. He made himself that still. Eyes open, mouth shut, one hand lifted. Then Daisy barked again and he flinched. Haskins grabbed his shoulder. The man folded down without much fight. Moreno came from the other side of the gap and helped pull him into the dressing room hall. The man kept saying, "Display only, display only, display only." That was all he said. They cuffed him under the mirror. He might have been 45, maybe younger. His feet were black on the bottoms. He smelled like old sweat, metal, and sour wall space. Murray showed up at 3:05. He saw the deputies, saw the man, saw my pants, and said, "Jesus, Nate." The man looked up at the mannequins and smiled. Not at us, at them. They found his space behind Payless after sunrise, Moreno told me later. There was a nest made from Aeropostale shirts, a foam mattress topper, 3 backpacks, and wrappers from Publix, Dollar Tree, and Wendy's. There were batteries, a cheap radio, stolen mall keys, and a handwritten list of my checkpoint times on a 2020 Hurricane flyer. His name was Harold. His sister in Winter Haven had reported him missing a while back. I asked if he was dangerous. Moreno said he could have been. The owners closed Sun Lake 2 weeks later, officially for storm damage remediation. They hired 2 guards per shift. I did not apply. Daisy was fine. For a month, she growled at department store windows. Then, she stopped. I am not telling this because I think I survived a ghost. I did not. That is what makes it worse. There was a man living inches behind a wall I leaned against every night while changing my shirt. A man watching me tap checkpoints, feed my dog Slim Jim, and sit in the office with my shoes off at 4 a.m. A man who could become furniture if you looked too fast. The last weird thing happened in September, after I started stalking at a Home Depot off County Line Road. Murray called. Contractors had gone into Belk Loft. 22 on the clipboard. They found 23. Murray said, probably from another store. Did it have a face? I asked. He did not laugh. He just told me to take care of myself and hung up. I still shop at Target and Walmart and Publix, but when I pass clothing displays, I count without meaning to. Hands, feet, heads. And if one of them is wearing a baseball cap, I leave. Before October 20th, 2016, dead air was just a radio problem. After that night, it became the sound I hear when a lock turns somewhere I can't see. In 2016, I hosted Last Call, the overnight show at KCRW 94.7 The Spur, a small country station in Lubbock, Texas, off I-27 behind a tire shop. It ran 11 p.m. to 3 a.m., mostly truckers, nurses, oil field guys, and lonely men who wanted George Strait. I was 31, divorced, renting a brick duplex in Wolfforth on Bowie Lane. My dog, June, a tan mutt with one crooked ear, waited there every night. My sound engineer was Luis, 26, quiet, always behind the glass with one Sony ear cup pushed back. The studio smelled like burnt coffee and hot plastic. The AC ran too cold, so I kept a gray UTT hoodie over my chair. That Thursday started normal. I got in at 10:18 with a Whataburger tea, HEB cough drops, and a headache. Red dirt tapped the lobby glass. At 11:07, Luis put a caller on line 3. Caller ID said private. You're on Last Call with Mara. Who's this? Hey Mara, longtime listener, first-time caller. The man sounded calm, like a guy at O'Reilly. What's your name? Cal. Where are you calling from, Cal? East of town. East of town covers a lot of dirt. He laughed a little. Yeah, it does. There was a pause, but radio creates pauses. I decided he was another lonely guy. He requested I Drive Your Truck by Lee Brice for anybody out late who thinks they're alone. I moved on. At 11:42, he called again. Same private. Luis lifted his eyebrows through the glass. Cal, I said, you already got one. You know the rules. I forgot to tell you something. Make it quick. Your left brake light is out. I froze, then laughed. 2 nights earlier, I had told a story on air about getting pulled over on 82nd Street for a brake light. I figured he had heard it and wanted attention. Old news, I said. I told that story Tuesday. No, he said. It was still out when you parked tonight. I looked at Luis. He mouthed, what? I covered the mic. Prank. Then I said, unless you're a trooper hiding in our lot, thanks for the safety tip. Cal said, I'm not in the parking lot. The line clicked dead. Luis put up a station sweep and went outside with the mag light. On the grainy monitor, I saw my white Civic and Wind pushing a wrapper along the curb. He came back and said, left brake light is out. I still made it normal. Maybe I had mentioned it twice. Maybe a sales guy saw my car. Luis said blocking private numbers would dump half the board. So I kept going. Dumb, I know, but I had $13 until payday, and fear still had to fit between weather and commercials. At 12:31, an email popped up on the request laptop. Subject, for Mara. Sender, Cal East. Preview, nice hoodie. I looked down at the gray UT hoodie on my chair. My first thought was webcam, so I slapped a Post-it over the Dell camera. Then I felt stupid. The hoodie wasn't visible from there. Luis checks the hall. Nobody. Tammy, our program director, said, "Don't feed it, creeps want attention." So we kept going, again. Danger usually arrives as something you can explain. A weird call, a weird email, a brake light. Annoying, not emergency. At 1:14, during a Zac Brown band song, I went to the break room. The fluorescent tube buzzed. The microwave smelled like old nacho cheese. My phone had 6% battery and 4 Twitter alerts. At Mara after midnight, nice shoes. At Mara after midnight, check the back door. At Mara after midnight, tell Luis not to act brave. At Mara after midnight, answer line 2. I was wearing red Converse. Luis had joked about them when I came in. The ice machine dropped cubes in the hall and I jerked like an idiot. Back in Studio B, line 2 was blinking. Luis shook his head and muted the ringer. "Don't," he said over talkback. "I'm not going to." I called the non-emergency number. The dispatcher asked if there had been a direct threat. I said, "Not exactly." She said an officer could drive by when one was clear. She sounded reasonable, which made me feel childish. At 1:22, Luis locked the front lobby door. On the monitor, I watched him punch in 1947, because radio people are lazy and obvious. While he was gone, line 2, line 4, and line 6 lit up. All private. The song ended. Dead air. 1 second. 2. I threw on a liner and started talking, because talking was what I knew how to do. My voice sounded normal. You can sound normal while your brain is breaking into little boxes. Luis came back, typed on his phone, and held it to the glass. Called 911. "Officer en route." Then the request. Laptop refreshed. Subject: "Don't be rude." The preview showed a photo of my kitchen. Not that night. Daylight in the window. Yellow Formica counters. Target magnet on the fridge. June stood by the back door, one crooked ear up, looking at whoever held the camera. I made a small sound. Not a scream, more like I had swallowed wrong. I had given spare keys to 2 people, Mrs. Hanley next door and my ex-husband Reed in Midland. Reed went to voicemail. Mrs. Hanley didn't answer. It was 1:29 a.m. Luis loaded a 5-minute commercial block with a pest control banjo jingle. I took my mic down and opened my home security app. FrontPoint. Old GE Simon XT panel by my front door. Beige, ugly, $34.99 a month because my mother nagged me after the divorce. The app spun, then said, "Disarmed." My system was always armed when I left for work. Purse, keys, dog treat, love you June, arm away, out before the beeping got too fast. I remember doing it that night. "My house," I told Luis. "Send police to my house." He called again. "Female, possible intruder, security system disarmed, 608 Bowie Lane, Wolfforth." He repeated the address twice. The commercials ended. We had to go back. I know that sounds insane, but dead air meant Tammy calling, then Dallas calling, then me being too dramatic for nights. So I put the headphones back on. "Thanks for staying up with me," I said. "It's 1:34. Dirk Bentley, then weather." Line 2 blinked. Luis shook his head. Line 4 blinked. Line 1 blinked. I said, off mic, "Preview only, finger on dump." "No," Luis said. "If he's in my house, I need to know." Bad logic, still logic. Luis patched line 2 into my left ear only, not on air. Cal said, "You made me wait." Same voice, calm, dry, close. "Where are you?" I asked. "You know where I am. Are you in my house?" He breathed through the phone. Behind him, I heard a soft electronic beep, then another. Not line noise. I knew that beep. My front point panel. "Police are on the way," I said. "That's okay. Leave. You should answer me on air." "No. You answer everyone else." Luis wrote, "Keep him talking" on a yellow legal pad and pressed it to the glass. I asked, "What do you want to talk about?" "Your show." "My show is boring." "It's not boring." "What's your favorite part?" "When you think the mic is off." "You have cameras?" I asked. No answer. "Did you put cameras in my house?" "No." "Then how do you know that?" "You're sloppy, Mara." That was the only explanation he ever gave. Maybe passwords. Old Yahoo Mail. Facebook check-ins. Tiny scraps. "Cal," I said, "I'm not putting you on air." "Yes, you are." "I'm really not." Then he said my name. Mara. My mouth went dry in a plain way, like I had eaten crackers. Born May 9th, 1985, Hendrick Medical Center, Abilene, Texas. Social Security number 318-52-9044. Luis's head snapped up. I hit the dump button, even though he was not on air. Plastic clicked under my finger. Nothing changed. Cal said, "Your mom kept the card in the blue baby book. Little feet on the cover." That book was in my hall closet, or it had been. I pulled one ear cup off. "Did that go out?" "No," Luis said. "Preview only." My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text preview. Cute dog. The thumbnail showed June's collar, my brown couch, the edge of a boot. I said, "You're hurting an animal to scare a woman on the radio?" Cal was quiet, then said, "Put me on air." "No." "Then I'll use the door." Fabric moved against the phone, a scrape. His voice got farther away. "Front point," he said, "GE Simon XT, master code 0419. The panel beeped, once, twice. Then the arming chirp I knew from my own front hall. Luis slapped the glass. "Mara, off. Off now." Cal came back close to the phone. Schlag keypad on the front door, same code, lazy. I heard 4 rubbery button presses, 0, 4, 1, 9. Then the mechanical clack of my front lock turning. I had never known that sound was recognizable from 12 miles away. The next seconds were ugly and quick. Luis killed the line. I tore off the headphones so hard, the cord snapped back and knocked over my tea. My chair hit the wall. The station went silent. 2 seconds. Maybe 3. Then Luis punched the emergency ad block. A dealership voice boomed through the monitors. "This weekend only at Frontier Dodge." I was already in the hall. Luis caught me near the lobby. "You can't drive there. That's my dog. Police are going. You driving into it helps him." I knew he was right. I also knew June hid under the laundry table during storms and trusted anyone who opened a door softly. Officer Hensley reached the station at 1:43. Luis played the preview recording. When Cal read my social security number, Hensley stopped writing. When the lock opened, he said, "Jesus." Wolforth police reached my house at 1:51. Hensley said the time out loud. They wouldn't let me listen after that. Luis held my phone because I kept trying to call home. At 2:04, Hensley came back in. The front door was open, he said. No one inside now. I asked about June. He did not answer fast enough. The report later said, "Deceased canine located in living room." I'll leave it at that. June was 8, one crooked ear, slept against my shins. That is what matters. The hall closet was open. The blue baby book was on the floor. My laptop, spare checks, and bedroom safe were gone. The front point panel had not been smashed. It was just disarmed, politely, like I had come home myself. No cameras were found, no broken window. Mrs. Hanley's spare key was still under her sugar canister. Reed's key was still on his ring in Midland. The call came from a prepaid phone. The Gmail was made that night. The Twitter accounts vanished by morning. My old Yahoo account had scans my mother sent in 2009, birth certificate, social security card, driver's license. Cal never called the station again while I worked there. I quit 2 weeks later. Tammy said she understood, then asked if I could record a few sweepers because my voice was still in the imaging package. I did it. People want you to become smarter after something bad happens. Mostly, you become tired. I moved to my sister's place in Abilene, froze my credit, changed my number, and learned words like SIM swap and credential stuffing. A detective said I had been targeted through compromised accounts and public information. I still hear the lock sometimes. Not in dreams. Regular places. A hotel in Dallas. A friend's house in San Angelo. 4 soft buttons, then that little motor. My body knows the sound before I do. Last year, someone uploaded an old air check of Last Call to YouTube. You don't hear Cal. You hear me start the weather, stop mid-sentence, rip off the headphones, and then silence. 2 seconds. Maybe 3. Then Frontier Dodge blasts in like nothing happened. The comments said it was fake. One guy wrote that I sounded fake scared, which is funny because I wasn't making any sound. Sometimes my phone still rings from blocked numbers. Spam, insurance, fake IRS. I let it ring. 1, 2, 3. Voicemail. Nobody leaves a message. That should make me feel better. I cleaned pools around Sarasota in March 2017, mostly foreclosures. I drove a white 2008 Ford Ranger with a cracked mirror and a Hayward vac head. Back then, Gulf Blue Pool Service was just me. The job came from a property manager named Evan on Tuesday, March 14th. He called while I was at Publix under a little Pie Day sign by the bakery. Can you drain a pool in Osprey today? Osprey is south of Sarasota, where expensive driveways back into swamp. The address was off Blackburn Point Road, not far from the old swing bridge. Evan said the house had been empty 6 or 7 years. The owners were complicated, and a buyer needed pool photos before closing. No pets, he said, no people, just nasty water. He offered $420. I said yes too fast. The place was called the Holloway House. A green brass sign said so on a limestone post. The lane had cabbage palms on both sides. The house was big in that tired Florida way. Tan stucco, barrel tile roof, arched windows, 3-car garage, plywood over the lower glass. A blue tarp slapped on the west side of the roof. You could smell the bay under the rotten mulch. The lockbox code worked, so I relaxed. Around back, inside a torn screen enclosure, was a kidney-shaped pool about 18 by 36, with a square spa attached. The water was the color of canned spinach, with brown pollen skin and mosquito shells. A dead palm frond floated across the steps. It smelled like pond mud, hot pennies, and old rubber. The first odd thing was the cold. My Ranger said 84 degrees, and I was sweating through my gray Gulf blue shirt. But standing by that pool felt like a Winn-Dixie freezer case. No mist, no drama, just cold air sitting on the water. I wrote "water very cold" on my pad because I was thinking about chemicals. Maybe shade, maybe groundwater through a crack. Florida has weird water. That was my first explanation, and I liked it. The equipment pad had an old pent air filter and a dead timer box with a wasp nest inside. I did not trust the house pump, so I used my orange Wayne submersible from Lowe's. I ran the hose to the palmettos and dropped the pump into the deep end at 2:17 p.m. It vanished with a thick plop. Brown-green water started crawling out a second later. For an hour, it was normal work. I skimmed junk, scraped the gray tile ring with a flathead, and heard a plane from SRQ. At 3:08, I texted Evan, "Draining now, rough but manageable." He sent a thumbs up. Around 3:40, kneeling by the shallow steps, I heard ticking. Not from the house, not my phone. A hard, busy tick, tick, tick from inside the pool, like a kitchen timer in a metal bowl. I stood up. The pump hummed. Under that was the ticking. When I leaned over the deep end, it stopped. I told myself the pump was pulling pebbles, or a soda can was tapping the drain. Pools make strange noises. I went back to scraping. At 4:12, my iPhone 6S said 3:56. My Timex Ironman said 4:13. I turned airplane mode on and off. The phone jumped to 4:13. Bad signal behind stucco. Another explanation. By 5:18, the water had dropped enough to show the slope into the deep end. The sun was low, and the yard had that orange mosquito hour look. I was about to pack up when the ticking came back. This time I felt it in my knees, through the deck. Tick, tick, tick. 1 per second, clean, together. I shut off the pump. The hose went soft. The yard got quiet except for insects and that sound under the green surface. Then the pool light came on. I had not gone inside. I had not touched a switch. The old round light in the deep end glowed weak yellow through the algae. In the beam, I saw a black dive watch on the slope, face up, then another, then 5 more. As the water settled, more shapes appeared. Round faces, rubber straps, metal bands. Dozens of waterproof watches scattered across the bottom. I said, "Well, that's weird," like a professional idiot. I took a photo. It came out green blur. I texted Evan, "There are a bunch of watches in the pool. Any idea?" Not delivered. The light made the water clearer. There were Casios, Timex sports watches, a silver fossil, Walmart digitals, even a yellow kids watch with a cracked fish on the band. Maybe 50 total. Then I saw the second hands. Every analog watch I could see was moving backward. All together. I crouched there too long. I told myself somebody had staged a prank. Maybe the old owner collected watches. People in Florida collect anything. I once cleaned a lanai with 112 ceramic frogs on shelves. At 5:31, my phone buzzed. A text from Evan appeared. "Can you get it done before 3? The message time said 2:44 p.m. I typed, "I'm here, call me." It did not send. Then a phone rang inside the house. A dry old landline ring. 2 bursts, pause, 2 bursts, behind the boarded windows. It rang 6 times and stopped. I stayed outside. I had no reason to go in. The ticking stopped too. That sudden quiet felt worse. I unplugged my pump from the GFCI. The orange light went dark. The pool light stayed on. I decided it was electrical. Old wiring, water, bad ground, clean reason. I started packing. The pump would not come up. The hose was stretched tight into the deep end. I pulled, thinking it was snagged on the drain. Something pulled back. Not like a hand, more like the hose was tied to a slow winch below the water. It took 2 inches, then 2 more. My boot slid on the wet coping. I let go. Fear turned into anger, because I was alone, and that felt better. I grabbed the aluminum pole, hooked the hose, and leaned over. The pool light went bright. For one clear second, I saw the bottom. Mud, leaves, 2 beer bottles, a rusted patio chair, and the watches. Not 50, closer to 100. They were around the main drain like coins in a fountain. Among them was my own Timex Ironman. Same black strap, same scratch from a pump housing in Bradenton. It lay face up near the drain, ticking backward with the rest. I looked at my wrist. My watch was still there, showing 5:42. The one underwater showed 5:42 too, except its seconds walked the wrong way. I took my watch off and dropped it into my tool bucket. The watch underwater stopped. Then all the watches stopped. The pool light went out. My phone rang. The screen said, Evan. I answered and heard static with ticking under it. Mark, he said. I'm at Holloway. Something is wrong with the electric. A pause. You already left? No. You called me at 6:10 and said you were done for the day. My phone said 5:43. I did not call you. Then who did I talk to? The ticking on the line got louder. I hung up. That was when my body quit caring about the $420. I packed the brush, net, bucket, and test kit. I left the pump. I walked fast around the house. Behind me, the pump started again. I had unplugged it. Still, water rushed through the hose into the palmettos. The hum came steady from under the pool water. At the garage corner, I heard my truck door shut. For 1 second, I saw myself at the driver's side. Same shirt, same khaki shorts, pulling my yellow extension cord from the cab. He turned toward the pool and did not look at me. I got in the truck. The dashboard clock said 2:19. My phone said 5:47, and the cheap AutoZone clock clipped to the vent said 6:11. I should have driven out. Instead, I stopped at the end of the lane because my $89 pump was still back there, and rent was due on the 20th. That is the honest reason. When I returned, the side gate was open. The water had dropped another 3 feet, exposing the slick green slope. The watches lay above the waterline now, ringing the deep end, ticking in open air. 100 tiny clicks landed together. Tick, tick, tick. My tools were arranged on the deck. My Timex sat in the center, dry and face up. It was a digital watch, but the black numbers were counting down. 5:49, 5:48, 5:47. From the deep end, I heard my own voice. Come on, man, just behave. That was what I had said to the hose earlier. The remaining water dipped all at once. The pump sat at the bottom on its side, watch straps packed around its intake. Then, every alarm went off. Casio beeps, Timex chirps, weak buzzers. The screen enclosure filled with a flat electronic scream. The pool light flashed on, and in that yellow beam, I saw a man standing at the bottom beside the pump. He was me, but older, maybe 10 years older. Thinner hair, deeper lines by the mouth, a small scar through the left eyebrow that I did not have. He looked up, shook his head once, and mouthed something. It looked like, leave it. The hose slapped the deck and caught my ankle. I slipped, got my face over the green water for half a second, and heard the ticking without any water between us. It filled everything. I pulled free. I left the pump, the hose, the Timex, and half the test kit. I drove to Tamiami Trail with the windows down. At the Shell by Bay Street, my phone jumped from 5:52 to 6:18, then to 4:03, then died with 37% battery. The clerk in a Tampa Bay Rays cap said, "You look like you saw a gator." The receipt from my Dasani said March 14th, 2017, 6:21 p.m. That night, Evan called at 8:09. I let it go to voicemail. Hey Mark, checking on Holloway. Buyer's agent wants to know if the pool is drained enough for photos. Call me tomorrow. At 2:30 a.m., my dead iPhone lit up on the dresser. It was not plugged in. One missed call from my own number, one voicemail. I did not play it. I put the phone in the kitchen drawer under dish towels. I went back at 7:15 in the morning. I know how that sounds, but daylight makes you arrogant, and my truck was missing gear. I had a whole defense ready: dehydration, bad wiring, swamp gas, reflections, broken phone. You can explain almost anything if rent is due. The Holloway house looked ordinary in morning sun, tarp snapping, palms still. My discharge hose lay across the yard, and water was still running out in a weak stream. The pump was still draining. The outlet was empty. My orange Wayne pump sat by the gate, dry, cord wrapped neatly around the handle. The same pump was also humming from under the last 8 inches of black-green water in the deep end. I did not try to make that work in my head. The watches were gone. No Casio, no Fossil, no yellow kids watch. Only pale, clean circles on the plaster where they had been lying. My tools were stacked by the gate: brush, net, pole, test kit. Even my Timex, face down on top of the bucket. I did not turn it over. I gathered everything except the discharge hose. Water was still crawling through it from somewhere, and I did not want to know where. I left the pool draining. As I loaded the truck, my phone buzzed. A voicemail notification from my own number. Timestamp, March 14th, 2024, 6:10 p.m. I deleted it without playing it. Evan called at 8:32 while I was on I-75 heading north. "Mark," he said, "don't worry about Holloway." I left water draining. Stop work. Contracts canceled. Okay. The house sold overnight. New owner is demolishing it immediately. They don't need pool photos. He said it dry, like he was reading from a form. I asked who bought it. Some holding company, he said. Holloway file is closed. Then he hung up. I never invoiced him. 2 weeks later, I saw an orange sign on Blackburn Point Road. Demolition traffic. I kept driving. I still clean pools, just not abandoned ones after 3 p.m. If a pool has cold air sitting on it, I tell the customer they need a leak inspection first. A few years later, I bought another Timex Ironman at Walmart. Same model. At 5:42 p.m., brushing a normal blue pool in Venice, the display blinked to 5:41. Then 5:40. I threw it in the glove box under an old SunPass transponder. Sometimes, at red lights, I hear one small tick. Just one. Then, the light turns green. That ends LurmoStories for the night. There's an email in your sent folder you do not remember sending. Most people have one. The user did too. They thought it was a glitch until they read what was in it. Comment if you've checked yours since the video started.